Hi, in this video, I want to show what these confusing parentheses mean. It's finally time to tackle this question. So, looking at my screen here, I have got the same 1880 census popped up on both sides so that I can show side by side what we can do as we're switching the focus person, etc. And then I have got the actual census record for this family here in the middle. So here's how the census first popped up to me. It has Nathan as the head of the household, right? And that's what appears like in the census. Nathan is the head of the household, and it lists a wife, daughters, another son, another daughter, and a nephew. And whoever this one is, it doesn't have a relationship listed. All right, so I want you to take a look at when I change the focus person to one of the kids, let's say Rosa, for example. When we change that focus person, it changes all of the parentheses. Now, Nathan, who is the head of the household on the census, now appears with the parentheses of father, whereas here he's a focus person and he doesn't have a parentheses. So taking a look at Katie, who is the wife to the household, she's not listed as a wife anymore. The parentheses have changed to list her as a mother. And so we can see that the parentheses here change depending on who is the focus person. The parentheses match the focus person's relationship. So Katie is a mother to the focus person, and Nathan is a father to the focus person, Rosa. Millie is a sister to the focus person, Rosa, etc. But look here at Poldy Newman. He is listed as a nephew in both. He is not, it doesn't calculate out that he is a cousin to the focus person now. It still lists him as a nephew. So the parentheses change in the parents, the focus person, the children, and the siblings category. It doesn't apply to the other category. So as we take a look and start changing everything around, let's look at Poldy Newman, this nephew that was down here, and see how all of the parentheses change for him. So now we see that Nathan, again, doesn't have any parentheses. He is listed as a focus person, if you will, in the other category. And so those parentheses only change up here in the top section of SourceLinker. The parentheses don't apply to the focus person when they're listed in the other category here. So let's change it back to Nathan, kind of get our bearings back, and we can see that all of the parentheses line up just how it is on the census record. But let's change it to Katie, the wife of the head of the household. And so again, we see that Nathan is no longer listed as a focus person without parentheses. He now has parentheses that match his relationship to the focus person. That focus person is the first one listed under this highlighted blue bar there, and you can change the focus person at any time. So hopefully that helps you navigate a little bit, get your bearings on how those parentheses change. They don't always match what is listed on the census, and it sometimes seems like they should. When you pull up an ARC or a blue record hint, it will typically pull up with whoever the head of the household is as the focus person, but it doesn't always do that. And how to navigate those confusing parentheses. So let's take a look at our next example. So here we have Henry Schrott, and on this one, he did pull up the focus person in the ARC or the blue record hint here in SourceLinker is listed as the head of the household here from the census. So let's take a look at the census, and we have Henry, and there is a wife, a daughter, son, a couple daughters, a mother, and a couple boarders. Well, a boarder, and it looks like it's possibly a servant there. So coming over here to the SourceLinker, we see that it has lined up everyone just right. But if we are playing around and changing the focus person, let's see what it does. So the first one, let's take a look at his wife. So if we change it to Christine Schrott, all of the parentheses up here in the upper half of SourceLinker will then apply to the relationship to the focus person. So Henry, the head of the household, is now listed as the husband to the focus person, Christine. Let's change it again to one of the children. Let's look at Lizzie. So with Lizzie as the focus person, Henry is now listed as a father, whereas over here, he doesn't have a parentheses. In a previous version of Family Search, it often put the parentheses of head here. So instead of head or blank, in this case, he is listed as father on this side. And we can see that Andrew is now listed as a brother versus over here, Andrew has a parentheses of son. And so even though over here, this is all correct, Andrew is listed in the siblings category. Over here, Andrew is listed in the child or children on record category. It's all in pertaining to who is the focus person. And so we can see here with Lizzie, Lizzie, again, is a daughter to the head of the household here in the census. Here, she is now the focus person, and Margaretha, her grandmother, does not appear as a grandmother. She appears as a mother because in the other category down here, the parentheses don't apply to the top half of SourceLinker here. And so in SourceLinker, we have the 4 different sections. We have parents, we have the focus person, we have children to the focus person, and siblings to the focus person. There's not like a grandparent category up here, and so it put Margaretha down here in the other category until we can change the focus person to a proper biological relationship within one of these 4 categories. And another thing that I would like to note is that if we are dragging one of these relationships down into the other category, it doesn't change the parentheses. The parentheses in the other category typically default to whatever was listed, whatever the relationship was to the head of the household on the census. If we drag one of these siblings to Lizzie down here, it's not going to automatically adjust that parentheses to match the census record. It would still list her as a sister so that we could line her up here to that focus person, if that makes sense. Hopefully that's not too confusing. But the parentheses up here in the top half of SourceLinker all apply to the focus person, and basically disregard all of the parentheses down here in the other category until you are changing the focus person and creating those matches. So hopefully that isn't too confusing. If all else fails, ignore the parentheses. If that just gets confusing as they're popping around, don't worry about them. Just base your information off of names and date and looking at the census in another window. So one of the best ways to practice is to go to your own tree and go off of some sources of a person that you know inside and out. And so take a look in their person page, go to their sources, and look at like a census record or a marriage index, or an obituary is a great one as well to kind of play around with relationships. So take a look, click on any of those record sources that you want to take a look at, and click on the review attachments button. And here, since you know these people, go ahead and start changing the focus person and see how the parentheses change over time. Because the parentheses are there to denote relationships. So any given person can be a mother and a daughter and a grandmother all at the same time, depending on who the other person is that they're being compared to. So yeah, the best advice I can give is go play around with changing the focus person in sources that have already been attached to your loved ones. And since you know those relationships really well, you can navigate how that changing the focus person on the left and right really works, and how to navigate that and become confident in that skill.